Alrighty, everybody, this is the Wolfers, and we made quite a lot of progress today, didn't we? So, both of us, we both thought, hey, would there be another place to get Tim Hortons? Because last time I went to the one in Lindenwold in New Jersey, and then I realized, wait, there's actually another one in Norfolk, Netflix. You know what I'm talking about. So, is it possible to get it? Alrighty then. So, if we want to grab donuts at Tim Hortons, obviously the rule of thumb is doing it in the morning. So, I decided that we're going to go ahead and do it on a Saturday. But here's the issue. There's no bus service in Northern Virginia in the morning, let alone metro services, because the Flix bus that leaves at Arlington, specifically Roslyn, it leaves at 5:25-ish. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and channel my inner DJ Pete's sake, and we're going to go ahead and grab a bike, and we're going to bike all across Arlington to go to Roslyn. Alrighty, so here's our heavy steed. This is a Capital Bike share bike, and it's an electric one, not like one of these over there, because yeah, I haven't biked in quite a while. So here we go. So about doxing myself, you have rejoined me in progress in the Skyline portion of Arlington. And from here, we'll be using bits and pieces of the W&OD Trail, Columbia Pike, and Arlington Boulevard. Now, the bike that I'm using is a Capital Bike Share bike, or a cabbie, but barely anybody calls it that. But it's pretty straightforward. You pick a bike, whether it's regular or e-bike, you unlock it for $1, and then you get charged for the minutes that you're using it. And I've chosen the e-bike because Northern Virginia is notoriously hilly. Alrighty, so first impressions of the bike here. It is insanely fast. I'm trying to get used to like a pretty heavy bike. It's like another thing that I have to keep in mind, but overall, like, it works. And yes, you are definitely witnessing the first impressions of a person trying an e-bike for the very first time. Granted, there's not too much of a difference. It is just significantly more heavier than a regular bike.
And also, me being the frugal genius that I am, I have one phone on my hand.
But that's neither here nor there. Right here is the W&OD Trail. And as I mentioned in the Shirlington video, it is definitely it is the most iconic rail to trails for all of us train enthusiasts. And you can use Capital Bike Share from the starting point at Shirlington, and you can go all the way down to Reston. Or you could get away with going all the way to at least Sterling, but you will have to deviate down to Innovation Center because there are a couple of bike stations there. Now, I have tested the thought of using Capital Bike Share on the W&OD, so if you are interested in seeing that type of content, let me know in the comments down below. So from the W&OD, we split to South George Mason Drive, where we will connect to Columbia Pike. And here we go, it's Gimme on the Pike. And I gotta say, the modernization just makes it so better for me to get this bike down this road. They did a very excellent job in road dieting Columbia Pike. So it would have been better if they had a streetcar, but Arlington County is so two-dimensional. And to prevent myself from getting into a political crash out, I decided to take 9th Street, where it's a lot more peaceful, and there's some roundabouts, like this one right here. And from 9th Street, we went to Glebe Road, and it turned to 7th Street, which, due to the darkness, I thought these were bike lanes, but no, they were parking. Though to be fair, there were no bike symbols, so that was on me. And now we make a turn to South Fillmore Street, meaning that we're finally close to the midway point, which is Arlington Boulevard. which will also be our fastest segment of this trip.
Alright, Jessica, we're making progress now. We're in the midway point on Arlington Boulevard. So once this right light goes red, we're on our way.
Now, we do have to deviate a slight ways away from Arlington Boulevard, but not too long. And while I could stay on the left-hand side of the road, I opted to switch sides to the right-hand side just because of how wide Arlington Boulevard gets, which can help me cut more time off, and I can make it to the Flixbus stop as early as possible. And we're going on a downhill segment, which makes it even more quicker. Although while taking this, while we were going a lot faster, I have also realized that we were going too fast that I was slowly starting to get unstable on the bike. But regardless, it was incredibly fun at the same time. And I have used a Capital Bike Share on this part of the road, but on the other way around. And it was incredibly tedious going uphill. And now we use the Queen Street or Road Street bridge to cross over to the other side. I say these two streets because they seem to be conflicting with one another, in true Arlington fashion. And we make the turn onto 14th Street, or at least attempt to, because, you know, momentum and also phone on hand. But afterwards, we make it to a very bumpy Fairfax Drive, and finally Fort Myers Drive.
Oh, it's literally right in front of me. Alright then, we're gonna go ahead and park right here then. Alright, chat. This is where quality content goes. Let's see if this works. I always had trouble trying to put these in. Yeah, I've used Capital Bike Share before. Alright then. Nope, it's an error message. So I got to lift it. Alright then.
A few moments later.
Ha ha ha. I did it. And thankfully my legs don't feel that bad. Okay, I'm actually feeling the after effects of it. Not to such a very dangerous degree. Just can't run, that's it. Anyways, here's the vibes. This is Roslyn. And I think we're close to 5 a.m. in the morning. So, yeah, a little bit different than New York. Well, let me just show you just a couple of things. Right there where you see the square right there. Once you turn in, that's going to be the Roslyn Metro Station. For the Flixbus stop, you would think it would be there. Nope. Just literally below where that bridge is. So the Flixbus, it's not like near the Union Station yet, so there's still plenty of time for me to at least just bid a temporary farewell to Northern Virginia, and now we go to Southern Virginia. But yeah, there's a lot of cars here, barely anybody here. Kind of reminds me of Indianapolis, where there's a lot of people on their cars, but very few people walking by. I know I'm doing something a little bit too ridiculous. Notice I'm deviating way too far away. Just want to see if I can grab one last glimpse of DC. There's one of the memorials. And at least some of the vibes of DC. I'm gonna go ahead and deviate back. I guess it wouldn't be like a true DJ P stick style video if I wouldn't smell the flowers. This is pansy, so Oh, they got a good smell on them. Typically they don't in these parts. And also, for the life of me, I have not seen jasmine, so yeah. And yep, this will be the stop right here. And here we go. The bus is finally here. Now we're ready. All right, we made it, and now we're moving.
So the Flixbus that we're on is a Van Hool, and it is actually from the Tribal Sun Company. Because at least here in the United States, Flixbus, they will typically use smaller coach services with a Flixbus branding on it. So we're really not on a Flixbus. And if you give it enough thought, the only true Flixbus is actually Greyhound, because they bought Greyhound. So let that sink in. But aside from that, the other stops that we're making on this trip will be at Richmond, nearby the Main Street Station parking lot, and Williamsburg. Afterwards, we stop at a strip mall in Military Highway, which, funny enough, that is literally across the road from the Tim Hortons, and then this bus continues all the way down to Virginia Beach. I will say that if you are on this journey, you are just going to be seeing trees 98% of the time, so just binge watch. But once you get to Richmond, they do deviate a bit, so you get a good view of the downtown vibes and that classic iconic southern housing stock. And now we make the turn to the Richmond Main Street Station and the BRT Main Street Station, which is the only thing the Pulse has going, which I definitely need to make a video of, so stay tuned.
I barely see it, but I think that's Norfolk Southern passenger.
Afterwards, we make a turn into the beautiful cobblestone streets, and I think we're also nearby what used to be former streetcar lines. But more importantly, to your left, you will see what is my favorite murals of the Little Puppers. But also you will see my favorite pastime of the GRTC Pulse not getting the right of way. When I showed this to Shortline, when I showed this to fellow YouTuber Shortline819, he was definitely not surprised. Will the Pulse ever redeem itself? Well, the real question is, will GRTC ever redeem itself? Well, it's actually up to the local leaders. Can we at least fund the GRTC, please? But that is a rant for another day, cause we gotta get our focus back on donuts. So once back on the highways, we were greeted with a wall of trees, which for me, I've decided to take a couple of power naps once we make it to Williamsburg. And I ended up having this dream as if this road was starting to expand into more lanes for more traffic. Because you know, it's one more lane, bro. Skipping to Williamsburg, I'm still taken aback that this part of the Northeast Regional is still single-tracked, and I very much enjoy the aesthetics of Williamsburg, especially with the railroad station. It really reminds me of Alexandria's.
Dang, it's so good. I took a couple of naps in. We should be a 4-hour away remaining. Yeah, 1 port remaining for Norfolk. Alright, since we're in Williamsburg, I guess that means I should say, what are we talking about?
Now WATA, the W-A-T-A, not WMATA, is the transit agency of Williamsburg. They're one of the very few agencies that have Orion 5s, which they are very close to phasing them out. But anyways, we're back on the main highways, meaning more walls of trees, but we're so close to seeing the visible cues of Hampton roads, like the Hampton Coliseum, which I will say is prettier than the Norfolk Scope, but the Norfolk Scope is still quite pretty. Also, we're starting to see more river branches because the James and Elizabeth Rivers do have quite a lot of river branches.
By the way, this is so wild. The
And after sitting for an extremely long time in traffic, we're finally moving on, heading straight into one of the bridge tunnels. Or as I call them, the IND bridge tunnels, because if you look close enough, the tiling looks eerily similar. Look at that green and that white. Doesn't that scream IND for you? But now we're out of the tunnels and heading straight into Norfolk. And the water is definitely choppy today, but aesthetically it looks very nice. Aside from all this construction, that's very car-built. But look at it. It's so beautiful, like that beautiful iconic maritime scenery. We passed by Norfolk International Airport, which is one of the worst airports in terms of transit access, as there's none of them, and we're super close to Military Highway, meaning that after several hours that involves biking and looking at walls of trees, we're finally close into our destination, which I'm just gonna be honest with you. I mean, already you're seeing me fast-pacing this, and the stop is very anticlimactic because we're behind a strip mall, and it's in the back alley of a strip mall, so there's definitely that. And there we go. That's it. The stop itself.
Alrighty, finally. We made it. Welcome to the city of Norfolk. Or Norfolk. Or Netflix. Anyway, that's the Flixbus right there. It's a Van Hool. And then right there is the Tim Hortons. And as we cross this road, I don't see a crossing sign except for one over here. And I know Virginia, so we're just going to take the safest way possible. How many lanes do you really need? Literally, you can just like add in a... screw it. I'm honking. There's the Flixbus again. But anyways, how many lanes do you need? Is it really that necessary? You can literally just put in a tide rails over here and there wouldn't be any problems. So here we go. Finally, one thing I did not get was like the donuts, so I'm gonna go ahead and get the donuts. So let's start off with the creme brulee latte. Put in a really good amount of whipped cream, so thumbs up to them. Love it, really love it. And now the honey curler. Sorry to all the Bostonians, but this is a lot better than Dunkin's. Cheers to you. And a sausage, egg, and cheese on a bagel, which I think I grabbed I think it's the same one from when I got it at Lindenwold. Still good. Still really good. And it's even better because I'm not sick. If you remember, I was actually under the weather during that time. So this is really good. And yes, he is here and he has definitely enjoyed it. All right, I gotta say it's a very good change of pace. I mean, I love my Dunkins, but you know, you gotta change it up a bit. That's all you need. And now I'm gonna go ahead and put my glasses back in because it's raining. Also, my rent-free roommate is inside of here. So, yeah. Well, I guess I should say that'll do it for this video, but I'm just realizing that I'm in Hampton Roads. Miles away from Northern Virginia. So that means I think I should spend a little bit more time here. Wouldn't you say so? But I wonder what's the next journey.